What's up, guys? Loki619, and I've got another video for you today. Today we're doing a tech video instead of a gaming video, but it is still somewhat gaming related because in this tech video, I will be talking about virtual reality. More specifically, can your PC, actually my PC, can my PC run virtual reality or VR? The reason I want to do this is because with all of the new announcements at E3 this year, um, it's only a matter of time before we get more VR games, and more VR rigs out there. And I want to be ready, or at least want to know where I stand at this point in the game, so that when the VR rigs come out, when the VR games come out, I'm not caught with my pants down, and I am somewhat ready, or at least I know the um, path ahead. And I think you guys are probably interested as well, because I know a lot of you guys out there have PCs or would like to upgrade PCs, or maybe don't want to do anything to your current PCs and just want to see if your PC will run a VR rig or not. So this is the video for you. Now, am I going to go and get a VR rig when it comes out? Probably not. It depends on the price. I'm pretty sure that when the VR rigs first come out, they're going to be pretty pricey. Um, I'm pretty sure that I could go out and get a VR rig, but if I did go out and get a VR rig at the current prices when they come out, I'm pretty sure the wife would be very mad at me, and I would probably have to build a doghouse to live in for the next 3 or 4 years. But when the prices come down, and if VR is a little more viable, then I most likely will jump into it. But for now, I just want to see if my PC will be able to run the software or the hardware needed to be able to play VR. Now, to do that, there's two things I'm going to do. I'm going to use the Steam VR performance test, which you can find on Steam. If you have the Steam client, just go ahead and launch it and then do a search for Steam VR performance test, and that should bring you to this page right over here. And then the next one is the Oculus compatibility check. That's a little program that you can get from the Oculus website. And basically, what it does is, unlike Steam VR performance test, which actually runs a bunch of videos and stuff to see if your machine can run VR, Oculus, I think, just goes about and scans your system, takes a look at your processor, your graphics card, and then your memory, and then matches that to a database of known configurations that work with VR. So it's a little different. It's a little quicker with the Oculus, whereas with the Steam performance test, it's a little bit longer. So without further ado, I'm going to be testing two machines, actually three machines now that I think about it. The first machine I'll be testing is the budget gaming PC that I built last year for a little under 500 bucks, and I'm going to be testing that. That's based off of the AMD X4 860K processor with a Radeon, I believe it's an R7 260 or 360X. I forget. So X overclocked graphics card. I'll put it in the in the descriptions when I get a chance to verify the graphics card. And then I'm also going to be testing the current gaming rig that I'm using right now, which is based off of the Intel i5 Skylake processor, and that's running in, oh my goodness, I forget. Yeah, it's running an AMD or MSI Radeon R 380, I think it is. I forget. I'll have to double check the specs as well. And then the last machine that I'll test is a machine that I haven't done a video on. This is my extreme budget machine. This machine, in the last test that is, that's based off of it's running a Pentium G35 G3250. Is it 50, 58? I forget as well. See, I'm very bad at specifications, but it's the hobbyist or the enthusiast Intel chip, Pentium chip that you can get for roughly 50 bucks, and that whole machine cost me about $250. And so I'm not expecting much from it. It's just I just wanted to run the test on it for shits and giggles just to see, um, you know, and go from there, because I think that system, that Pentium system, is probably closer to what a lot of you guys have at home, or closer to a lot of the different computers that you can buy in the sub $300 category. So without further ado, here you go. This is the performance Steam VR performance test. So this is the Steam VR performance test, and I am running this on the first gaming rig, the budget gaming rig that I made last year. Actually, more like 2014, December of 2014, so beginning of 2015. And for this rig, I used the AMD X4 860K processor. That particular processor does not have any onboard graphics. So for that, I used the MSI Radeon R7. I believe it was a 270X or 260X overclocked, and so it's performing pretty decently. But this test right here, keep in mind, this test does not actually show you. Well, it shows you the graphics, but it doesn't show you the actual, rendering as far as the virtual reality. Because keep in mind, this is a 2D rendering of something that should be more like actual virtual reality. So this is not any um, accurate indication of what the actual game or actual graphics will look like when they're rendered in virtual reality. Instead, what this is just doing is presenting you with a graphical representation of what you might be seeing if you were looking through a VR hood or a VR rig. And so again, this is by no means, just because it looks good here does not necessarily mean that it's going to look the same on your screen. Or with this particular graphics card, it's doesn't mean that this graphics card is going to be able to actually run um, a virtual reality application or game. So that said, keep in mind also that there is no sound. This is just like, I'm going to shut up for a little bit. Yeah, so when you run the VR test, there's no sound. So if you're kind of wondering, wait, what's going on? How come there's no sound? You're fine. There's nothing wrong with your machine. There's nothing wrong with your audio. It's just there's no sound to this whole thing. It's just testing the graphical capabilities of your graphics card, as well as the processor, as well as your operating system and memory under load. And it's just simulating what VR would actually be doing to a system such as the system that you're on. Now, what we have here is that right here it's telling me that the upgrade needed first and foremost is the graphics card. The processor is more than capable of keeping up with it, but it's probably going to bottleneck later on. So we want to try to keep that in mind. Even if I did, upgrade the card, I'm going to have a hard time keeping up with the processor. Next up, we have the Rift compatibility check. This is from the Rift website, Oculus Rift website, and basically it just checks your memory, your processor, your graphics card, and your operating system to see if it meets the standards. In this case, I failed USB wise, processor wise, graphics wise, and it gives you a pretty good explanation of what's going on as far as your machine. Now, processor wise, yeah, for the Oculus Rift, it's not going to be sufficient with the X4 860K, and then USB, it's, it's terrible. So I'm not going to be able to use this on my virtual reality. So this gaming rig is just that, for, 2D, 3D gaming. So yeah. Next up, we have the new PC that I built for early this year, 2016, and that's based off of the Skylake architecture. And so here we go. So for this particular rig, we are running an Intel Core i5 Skylake 6500, and we're also running an MSI Radeon R9 380 with 4 gigabytes of onboard memory as far as my graphics card is concerned, and it looks really good as well. But as I said in the previous video, or the previous section with the AMD processor, this is not in any way indicative of what your performance is going to be like when you finally get that machine up and running. So keep that in mind. I already know, having done this video, and I'm just now going back and adding the commentary to it, I already know that my machine, as is not going to be up to snuff as far as the VR is concerned. Now, the thing about it is, I don't know what happened to the results from Steam, but the results didn't show up. I may have, in my haste, I've clicked close really quickly, and then not recorded it. But the one thing that, as far as as far as the test is concerned, everything passed. The only thing that did not pass was the graphics card. So for that, I'm kind of hoping that the AMD RX 480 card that came out recently, the one for about $400, $200 for the 4 gigabyte variant, and then the 250 for the 8 GB reference card. I hope that AMD fixes the issues that are currently plaguing that card right now as far as power and everything is concerned. And if it does, that card should be a pretty good addition or a pretty good upgrade for this machine that I'm running on right now, the Skylake i5. And again, as far as compatibility with Oculus Rift, here we go. We're going to run that test one more time, and as you'll see, it does pass except for the graphics card. That's the only thing that's missing, that I need to replace or upgrade. So yeah, that's good to know that I'm almost there as far as this machine is concerned. It's just a little more work. Now this next portion of the testing is off of a extreme budget gaming machine. When I say extreme budget, this machine is less than $250. And I never did a video on this. I probably should do a video on this just in case any of you guys have $250 in your pocket that you want to use on a machine that can get you to play Slither.io, Agar.io, Five Nights at Freddy's, some of these basic games. It's not going to be you're not going to be playing any Grand Theft Auto. You're not going to be playing anything of that nature on this machine. But this machine basically it runs off of an Intel G3250 processor. It's one of those processors that is great for enthusiasts. It will allow you to overclock if you wanted to, and it's pretty cool. The only problem is that it's a single core. It doesn't have all of the processing that any of these like the i3 may have. So it's not really made for heavy lifting. Now that particular machine, or as you can see right now, it's still loading. It is pretty long, it is pretty slow. But it will be, it is able to do some of the things that I need it to do. So, for example, if I'm streaming, if I needed to stream, it does allow me to stream. Now, when I say stream, I'm not streaming and playing on that computer at the same time. I am playing off of a different computer, the Intel i5 that I just mentioned, and that computer is hooked up to the Pentium computer, which then takes the video game that I'm playing or the video feed that I'm playing and throws that up onto YouTube or whatever streaming service that I'm on. So it's a great secondary computer for streaming in a pinch. It's a great secondary computer that I have on like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because the power draw on it is pretty much almost next to nothing, so I can keep it on forever. And it's just there if I need it. Now, as you can see, it's still loading this VR performance test from Steam, and it's going to be like that for the next few minutes. So I'm going to go, there you go, there it goes. It finally gets there. But keep in mind, this is onboard graphics, guys, that we're dealing with right here. And although it looks good, look how slow everything kind of renders. All the textures just kind of pop in, and the movement is not very smooth. You can kind of, like, when the door opens, there's a little bit of, it's oh my goodness. But I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead and show you guys the performance on this. As I said, this has no graphics card. It's all onboard graphics. So even if I put a graphics card on there, I'm still going to bottleneck with the processor. So is this a great option? Probably not. It's great for gaming. If I put a better graphics card, I can probably run some of these higher end games, but not anything in VR. So that's it, guys. This is Loki619. I hope you guys learned a little bit from this, and I hope you guys are able to use some of this as a starting point for your own builds, especially if you're trying to build a VR capable rig. Now, with the Intel that I built, the Intel Skylake, that came in at a little under $1,000. But I saved a lot because I had a lot of the different parts on hand. As far as the AMD build is concerned, that came in at about $500, and again, I had some of the components on hand as well, namely hard drives and connectors and things like that. But if you're looking to build a decent system that will run VR, you're looking at about $1,000, and that's just point of entry. And as I said earlier on in this video, will I be jumping into VR? Probably not until it becomes accessible as far as price, as far as mainstream. If more people are playing on it, hey, why not? And if it becomes something that's less than $1,000, yeah, I probably will jump into it. But if it's over 1,000, I'm gonna wait. But yeah. So anyhow, again, I hope you guys learned a lot from this video. I hope you guys have, hopefully we'll see more VR in the future, and hopefully it becomes more and more accessible to everybody. Anyhow, thank you guys so much for stopping by. Thank you so much for your support. I will catch you all a little bit later.